Welcome to Shot Recap. This is Season 3 of Squid Game. Dozens of poor and deeply indebted people take part in a deadly tournament with a massive cash prize. They're forced to play childhood games, but losing means death. Season 3 picks up right where Season 2 left off. The players who rebelled against the organizers have been defeated. The pink-suited guards don't take prisoners. They kill every last one of them. Only No Ill, guard number 11, secretly warns player 246 to play dead, then shoots him non-lethally. Her real goal is to gain the trust of the organ traffickers who once beat her. Most of the coffins with bodies are burned in the crematorium, except for two. One coffin is taken to the organ traffickers, while the other is brought into the main hall. Inside that one lies Gi-hun, still alive, the winner of the previous games and the man who led the uprising, a Korean version of Spartacus, mourning the loss of his fellow rebels. During the vote to continue the game, his vote isn't counted. The guards have him cuffed to prevent any incidents. Gi-hun demands to be executed like the others, but the remaining players choose to keep fighting. The prize money has grown after the rebels were killed. Some of the players sarcastically thank Gi-hun for the bigger prize. The elderly Jung-jae and her son Young-soo try to cheer him up by bringing him food. Ha-joon, a transgender player, confesses that the rebellion failed due to a lack of ammo and blames Dae-ho, who got scared and didn't return with the supplies. From that moment on, Gi-hun keeps a close eye on Dae-ho. Meanwhile, the host, still pretending to be player 001, gets updates from a double agent, Captain Park. Detective Jeon, the host's brother, is still trying to locate the island where the games are held. A drone operator was killed by the captain in what was staged as an accident, forcing them to return to port for a replacement. The detectives visit debt collector Choi to share their suspicions about the captain and the missing operator. But Jeon trusts Park. He saved his life after their escape from the island. The next morning, Choi says he won't rejoin the team. He wants to investigate things on his own. No. Il asks her fellow guards to show her the operating room where organs are harvested for sale. Once inside, she ambushes the traffickers and kills them all except for the doctor. She keeps him alive to treat the wounded player. She even agrees to a blood transfusion to save him, then kills the doctor afterward. To hide player 246, she decides to dress him in a guard's uniform. Before the next game begins, the players are split into two teams, red and blue. Once teams are assigned, the rules are revealed. They're playing hide and seek. The blue team has 30 minutes to either hide or find an exit in a maze. The red team's job is to hunt them down and kill them. The blue players are given keys, while the red players get knives. Before the game starts, players are allowed to switch sides with someone from the opposing team. A streamer named Myung offers to switch with his ex-girlfriend Kim, who is pregnant with his child. His plan is simple. He'll do the killing, and she'll try to find a way out. Young-soo does the same. He switches places with his mother, Jung-jae. Player Jung, the leader of those still determined to continue the game, also wants a knife, but no one is willing to trade with him. Meanwhile, Marine Dae-ho is understandably worried that Gi-hun, now on the red team, will target him for revenge. He nearly attacks Gi-hun, but a guard politely warns him that acting out might get him killed ahead of schedule. The blue team is then released into the maze, given a 2-minute head start to hide. The timer starts ticking down to the sound of a creepy children's rhyme, a lullaby about a hedgehog in the fog. When it's time to release the red team, Gi-hun immediately sets out to find Dae-ho. Myung teams up with Nam-gyu, former sidekick of the rapper Thanos, who was killed last season, so they can take down the blue players together. Meanwhile, Myung's pregnant ex-girlfriend ends up with Jung-jae and Hyun, forming an all-female squad. Together, they discover that the keys come in 3 types: triangles, squares, and circles. They're lucky between them. They have the full set. They hand the keys to Hyun, figuring it'll be easier for one person to slip through doors. What follows is a brutal game of hide-and-seek mixed with knife fights and panic. The self-proclaimed shaman, Kassen, leads a group of blue players through the maze, swearing she knows the way out. But when they open one door and run into red players, she bails immediately, leaving the gullible behind to be slaughtered. Gi-hun roams the maze, focused only on finding Dae-ho. He spares every other blue player he encounters. At one point, Gi-hun spots his target Dae-ho, but a deep concrete shaft separates them. Meanwhile, Myung and Nam-gyu corner their first victim in a side room. They stab him at the same time, so that the the kill won't count for either of them individually, allowing them to keep working together and rack up more kills. Still high on the leftover drugs from Thanos, Nam-gyu gets an adrenaline rush from the murder. After the second kill, the system registers a win for them. Nam-gyu suggests they keep killing blue players to thin out the competition since the rules don't forbid it. But Myung is more focused on finding his ex, Kim, to help her escape. He warns Nam-gyu that if he lays a finger on her, he'll kill him. During the chase, the pregnant Kim falls down a staircase and twists her ankle. Her teammates rush to help her, but a red player appears. Hyun steps up, engages in brutal hand-to-hand combat, and takes the enemy down. After a short but brutal fight that ends with the red player's death, the all-female squad now has a knife of their own. The trio finds a room where they examine Kim's ankle. With that kind of injury, she won't be able to run far, and things get even worse when her contractions start. She's going into labor. One unplanned participant just joined the game. Meanwhile, Jung teams up with another player only to throw him under the bus the moment danger shows up. Classic backstabber. Dae-ho is running for his life. With a desperate kick, he sends his red-suited pursuer flying down a staircase. The red player lands head-first, neck snapping on impact. Dead. Dae-ho grabs the broken tip of the attacker's knife before taking off again. Elsewhere in the maze, Young-soo stumbles upon a hiding blue player, but it's a trap. The blue player lunges at him, nearly taking his life. Just in time, another red teammate walks by and intervenes, stabbing the blue in the back. Then, without a word, he claims the kill for himself and walks away. Gi-hun runs into the self-proclaimed shaman, Kasun. She tells him she saw a wounded Dae-ho earlier trailing blood behind him. Gi-hun heads off to track down Dae-ho, while the shaman Kasun hides from Min-soo, who's completely lost his mind from guilt. He's haunted by the memory of Sammy, the player who was killed earlier in a fight, while Min-soo froze up and failed to help. On top of that, Min-soo found a crucifix-shaped container with pills, the drugs that Myung had lost earlier. Kasun barricades herself inside a room and, by pure luck, finds an emergency exit. But to unlock it, she needs 3 different types of keys. Reluctantly, she heads back out into the maze, hunting for keys. She marks her path with their blood, a breadcrumb trail back to the door. Jung runs into the shaman Kasun. When he sees that she has the 2 missing keys, she pretends the spirits are guiding them and offers to lead him to the exit following the blood trail she left behind. When they reach the door, they unlock it together. But at the last second, Jung slips through first, snatches one of the keys back, and slams the door in her face, leaving her with nothing. That's when Min-soo shows up. In a full-blown psychotic break, he mistakes Kasun for Nam-gyu, the one who killed Sammy, and stabs her without hesitation. Elsewhere, Kim has just given birth when a red player bursts into the room. Hyun charges at the red player, forcing him out into the hallway. Even with a wounded leg, he manages to kill the attacker in the next room. After the fight, he notices something. It's the exit. He unlocks the door, ready to escape, but then he remembers his friends. Limping, he turns back. Just as he returns to share the good news, Myung stabs him in the back, literally. Seeing his ex-girlfriend and their newborn daughter, Myung pretends the room is empty, hoping to drag the drugged-up Nam-gyu away before he realizes what's really going on. Once the red players leave, Jung-jae and Kim take the keys from Hyun's body and head for the exit. They unlock the door just as Young-soo appears. He hasn't killed anyone yet, and time is almost up. To keep her son from losing, Jung-jae offers herself as a sacrifice, saying she's already lived her life. But Young-soo sets his sights on Kim instead. Before he can strike, Jung-jae drives a hairpin into her own son's back to stop him. Meanwhile, Gi-hun follows the blood trail, only for it to suddenly vanish in the middle of a staircase. Realizing the traitor is trying to cheat, the champion finds him hiding behind a door. Dae-ho begs for mercy, admitting he never served in the army, he just wanted to look tough around his friends. But as soon as the champion's raised knife wavers, Dae-ho pulls out his broken blade and tries to kill him. Shocked by the betrayal, Gi-hun lunges at Dae-ho, knocking the knife from his hand. Dae-ho runs, but the pursuer catches up to him near a door that leads to a deadly drop. A fight breaks out between them and Gi-hun comes out on top. Instead of throwing the traitor off the edge, he beats him down and then chokes him out. He presses the blade to his throat, but a guard's gunshot knocks it away. The round ends. It's time to count the surviving winners and execute the losers even if they resist fiercely. Under the guise of guards, VIP guests join the cleanup, eager to shoot at people people themselves. The winners are sent back to the main hall. Noticing the missing drugs, Nam-gyu goes into withdrawal and tries to return to the game area, but the guards won't let him. They have to threaten him with weapons to keep him in check. Then Jung-jae enters the hall with her baby and Kim. Her reproductive system is proving the organizers' efforts to cut down the number of players useless. The results are announced. 35 players have died. The prize fund grows bigger, and a vote is called. Jung-jae pleads with the others to stop the game for the sake of the baby, but no one listens. With a 2-to-1 majority, the players decide to continue. Before the vote ends, Jung-jae comforts the new mother and asks Gi-hun to take care of the baby. Meanwhile, No-il escorts player 246, disguised as guard number 16, out of the operating room. The other guards inspect the area and discover the bodies. The head of security orders them to bring number 16 to him after lights out. But No-il, sneaking into the office through the ventilation system, advises them to think twice. The VIP guests have arrived. The organizers don't want any trouble. It's better if they quietly slip away with no number 16 on the boat in the morning, causing no fuss. Meanwhile, Detective Jeon gets a call from Choi. He says the locals don't know anything about Captain Park. The detective spots a familiar beach through the drone's camera and insists on landing against the captain's objections. He recognizes the area where he last saw his brother during their escape from the games. Jeon tells the team their target is close by. That night, Choi sneaks into the captain's house, risking triggering the security system. Inside, he finds a photo of Park posing with the recruiter who nearly killed the collector. When a dog breaks loose and rushes into the room, a guest shoots it with a revolver. As he's leaving, he spots a stash of cash and a pink guard jumpsuit hidden under the doghouse. Suddenly, police arrive, called by the gunshot. The morning starts with No-il receiving the boat key along with her breakfast, a chance to escape. However, the head of security orders another sweep of the operating room. During the second search, the pink guards realize that number 16 is dead, and beneath the mask, it's actually player 246. The guards also have to remove a fresh body from the main hall. That night, Jung-jae hangs herself. The players are then led to a new game jumping rope on a narrow bridge over a deep chasm. Even though Kim's leg is injured, the VIPs, for extra irony, decide to register her baby as a player. The guards announce this to the participants. They have 20 minutes to complete the challenge, and the order of crossing doesn't matter. As everyone nervously waits for the game to start, Min-soo uses the crucifix with drugs to blackmail Nam-gyu. He throws the crucifix onto the bridge, forcing the withdrawal-stricken addict to go first. Nam-gyu makes it safely to the crucifix, but it's empty. No pills inside. Frustrated, he loses focus just as the massive mechanical jump rope swings down, knocking him off the bridge. Remembering Jung-jae's plea, Gi-hun takes the baby with him as he crosses the bridge. He promises to come back for Kim, who won't be able to jump on her own. Despite the extra weight and balance challenges, Gi-hun makes it to the middle of the bridge where there's a big gap. After hesitating for a moment, the champion leaps over the hole and keeps going. Inspired by his success, the others follow, but their rush blocks him from going back for Kim. The second player to cross suddenly turns around and pushes the third off the bridge, cutting the number of players down. A sudden betrayal in a world full of ruthless killers, who would have thought? Only after one player shoved a couple of teammates toward death did Gi-hun threaten to kick him in the ass if he didn't back off. The threat worked at first, but soon they had to fight with Gi-hun gouging the guy's eye out. Meanwhile, several players managed to fall off safely. At the start, most players decided to turn around and head back, but a big brute shoved a returning woman off the bridge. It's like chess, one move forward, no turning back. After Gi-hun clears the way, the others cross the bridge with mixed success. Kim is the last one left, but she knows time's running out. Jumping with the extra weight of the baby feels like a death sentence. So, she makes a bold choice. Asking Gi-hun to take care of her child, she jumps down. That's the end of round 5. The players are brought back to the main hall. The VIPs, led by the host, decide to keep the baby in the game under number 222, the same as her mother's. This adds extra tension to the competition. When the guards announce this to the players, they're furious. The prize money will have to be split one more way. They want to kill the baby, but the guards make it clear. From now on, physical violence between players is forbidden. There are too few of them left, like endangered black rhinos. Meanwhile, the arrested Choi gives his testimony. The police call Captain Park to report what happened. He immediately informs his superiors that their cover has been blown and the witnesses must be eliminated. Park grabs a rifle and opens fire on Detective Jun's team. Meanwhile, Jun is on the phone with Choi, who warns him that Park is working for the organizers. This tip helps Jun avoid being shot and fight back, taking down a harpoon-wielding sailor and saving one team member. member. Park dies without ever revealing the location of the island. Remembering how the captain tried to divert their attention from one area, Jeon concludes that's where the island must be. Back at the games, the organizers throw a lavish dinner for the players where they announce new rules. To win the final game, players must eliminate at least 3 opponents, but they can kill more if they want. The decision is left up to the players themselves, who must first vote on whether to accept this condition. With an overwhelming majority, the new rule is accepted, and the players head to bed. At night, a guard summons Gi-hun to meet the host. The host offers him a dagger, a tool to silently slit the throats of the players who've teamed up against him while they sleep. Otherwise, he warns, tomorrow will be brutal for him and the baby. When Gi-hun asks why the host is offering this help, the host removes his mask. It's the same player 001 who joined the rebellion with them. Gi-hun wants to kill the traitor right then and there, but the host says it won't change anything, they'll just find a replacement. But if he follows the host's advice and kills his rivals, leaving just himself and the baby, the game will end. There won't be enough players for a final round. Gi-hun reluctantly agrees, even as the host mocks his faith in people's kindness. In the morning, No-il and player 246 set off on a boat to escape. The head of security orders No-il to return, revealing they know exactly who she's protecting, the father of a sick little girl No-il had met during her previous job. Number 11 returns to the island, then orders player 246 to sail to the mainland alone. She sneaks back onto the base through the ventilation system, unaware that the head of security has ordered the fugitives' elimination. A speedboat is chasing player 246's boat. Gi-hun holds the dagger to Jong's throat, while the host watches him, lost in memories of how he once slit players' throats on the host's advice, eventually taking his place. However, remembering Saebyok from season 1, Gi-hun hesitates to make a move, hoping the situation will resolve itself somehow. No-il reaches the head of security's office through the ventilation shaft. With an offer he can't refuse, delete player 246's file in exchange for her life. The head agrees and erases the data, but when No-il tries to shoot him to be sure, he reminds her there's still a paper copy in the archive, and only he and the host have access to it. Number 11 leads the boss to the elevator, where he suddenly plays John Wick. A fight breaks out, spilling into the hallway, but the gun stays locked inside the elevator. As the brawl unfolds, physics takes its toll. The stronger, tougher man, ignoring all Hollywood rules, brutally beats the woman down. In a desperate last-ditch effort to turn things around, she grabs a knife, nearly flipping the fight completely. The boss knocks her out with a glass, disarms her, and stabs her in the stomach. At that moment, he's informed the final game is about to begin. While he's distracted, No-il crawls across the floor toward the elevator, but not to escape. She grabs an automatic rifle and opens fire on her opponent. Then she heads down to the archives, where she finds player 246's file. Meanwhile, player 246 is running from pursuers who have opened fire on him. He fights back, killing one of the shooters, but the odds are overwhelmingly against him. At that moment, through the fog, Captain Park's boat arrives with the surviving detective and his assistant. The remaining players are called to the final game. They're lifted by elevator onto one of 3 tall pillars shaped like the iconic geometric figures. The task is simple from the top. They have 15 minutes to knock at least 1 live player off, then move to the next pillar and repeat. In total, they have to kill at least 3 players. The group votes to get rid of Gi-hun, the baby, and the drugged-out Min-soo. To start the round, someone has to press the button that triggers the timer. Myung suggests throwing torch off the pillar first, then figuring out how to split Gi-hun and the baby between the next 2 rounds. Using a metal pole from the elevator, he shoves the first victim off, revealing the pole isn't just a prop, but a disguised weapon. But in the middle of a hallucination, Min-soo doesn't even realize what just happened. Once they move to the next pillar, the players vote against the baby, but they have to take the baby away from Gi-hun first. And no one wants to go down with the champion. They're too scared to challenge him directly. They agree not to press the start button until they decide what to do. But the big guy, player 203, hits the timer to stop the delay. The players assign player 353 to shove the first victim off with a pole. But Gi-hun hints that a different sacrificial player will be needed for the 3rd pillar, and most likely, it'll be player 353 himself. Player 353 suggests they rethink how to separate the baby and her protector. In the end, the conspirators tie themselves together with their jackets as a backup plan, aiming to pull Gi-hun toward the center where it's easier to grab the baby. But Gi-hun uses a hidden dagger to cut the ropes and points the blade at the others, threatening them. At that moment, Myung swings his pole behind Gi-hun's back, aiming not for the man protecting the baby, but for another player. Seeing his chance, Myung switches sides and admits he's the baby's father. Now, it's 2 armed players against 4 unarmed. The question, who to throw off in the next round? The clever group quickly comes up with a plan: beat one player nearly to death, drag him to the last pillar, and then push him off from there. Gi-hun's moral compass rejects their plan. He suggests drawing lots, but without involving the baby. The idea falls on deaf ears, sparking a fight. During the chaos, the big guy takes a dagger to the chest, and another player, Men, gets thrown off the pillar. The cunning old man Jung suggests tossing the beaten player off next, but the streamer, convinced that scum like him belong in the dirt, shoves Jung off instead. Right after, the beaten player refuses to be anyone's ticket to freedom and jumps off on his own, leaving the survivors facing a grim dilemma: who dies next? The tension spikes when a bridge appears between the pillars. Myung, wielding a pole as a threat, orders Gi-hun to hand over the baby and stay on the previous pillar. The champion suspects the reckless father plans to kill his daughter to take all the money for himself. But with no other choice, Gi-hun hands over the baby. While the streamer babysits the child, Gi-hun grabs a dagger from a fallen player and, at the last second, jumps from the moving bridge onto the 3rd pillar. A fight breaks out among the players, and player 6 falls off the pillar. Myung threatens to throw the baby off if Gi-hun doesn't drop his knife. Gi-hun complies, wrapping his jacket around his arm for protection. The brutal knife fight ends with both of them falling from the top, but Gi-hun manages to grab onto a protruding rebar while Myung dangles below, holding onto Gi-hun's jacket. Gi-hun's moral dilemma is ruined by the poor quality of Chinese-made clothes. His jacket rips, sending the streamer on his final fall. Watching from above, the tense VIPs see the 2-time champion climb back up, only to realize the start button hasn't been pressed yet, so the game hasn't officially begun and the kills don't count. Meanwhile, No Ill burns the archive. As flames lick the shelves, she finds her own file, a record of her younger, beautiful self before she got caught up in this bloody work. Remembering her lost family, her husband and child, No Ill presses the gun to her head, but then changes her mind. Meanwhile, Detective Jun's boat approaches the island. Guided by player 246's directions, Jun dives through an underwater cave with scuba gear and sneaks up through a secret passage. Pressing the button, Gi-hun lifts the baby into his arms. The audience waits for him to say goodbye to the child and finish the game. Then Gi-hun reminds himself they're not some racing horses to bet on, they're people. He jumps down, leaving the baby as the last player and winner of the games. Immediately after, the host announces an emergency evacuation and activates the self-destruct system. He descends to Gi-hun to say goodbye, then takes the elevator up to the top pillar to join the winner. From the VIP box, Detective Jun spots him through the glass. Breaking a window, the detective calls out to his brother, but the host, glancing back, silently descends the elevator with the baby. The staff evacuation by ferry is in full swing, while guests are flown away by helicopters. Knowing the bombs are about to go off, the detective escapes the building the same way he came in. Surfacing, he sees the island engulfed in flames from the explosions. Later, a man with a gun breaks into the hotel Gi-hun bought and finds his stash of cash, all that remains of his winnings. The story jumps ahead 6 months. No Ill visits player 246, who's now working as a street artist. He doesn't recognize her, but she wants to make sure his daughter is safe. People have come forward to cover the child's medical treatment. Then, No Ill gets a message from a lawyer who found her own daughter in China and arranged her flight there. At the airport, she crossed paths with Sae-byuk's mother, the woman who lost her daughter in season 1. whom she hasn't seen in years. Young-ho has left the police force and picks up Choi, recently released from prison. Together, they wonder what happened to Gi-hoon's money, a secret known only to the two of them. Back at home, the ex-detective finds a package on the bed from the organizers. Kim's 6-month-old baby and a bank card loaded with her winnings. The host travels to America to deliver Gi-hun's legacy to his daughter, his game uniform, and a bank card holding what's presumably the remaining prize money confiscated from the stash. On his way to the airport, the host spots a woman with an elfin appearance playing a traditional Korean children's game in an alley, quietly recruiting new contestants for the competition, and that's where the series ends.